Welcome to We Live It, the Live Ag Podcast, your source for livestock market insights, management strategies, and real conversations with those who don't just work in the cattle industry, they live it. Here are your hosts, deCordova and Casey Mabry.
Well, welcome back to another episode of We Live It, Live Ad Podcast with Casey Mabry and myself, deCordova. We just want to thank you guys and gals out there for watching and supporting us. We can't thank y'all enough for hitting that subscribe button up top there and that like button. So on any platform you're watching on, please hit subscribe. We appreciate that. Anybody out there that's watching that wants to advertise with us or get involved or maybe be on a potential show, reach out, email Katie or at katie@live-ag.com, or just get on our website and there's a link there to get to her too. Or just reach out to myself or Casey. If you know us, just call us and we can get you in touch with the right person. So on this episode, Casey, we have a gentleman that I've known for 20 years. Wade, is it Leist or Leist? People like to pronounce it 7 different ways.
Depends on where you're from, but it's actually neither.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's why I did it.
I hope it's something way off. I hope it's something way different. Let's go.
It's Leish.
Leish.
Whoa,
Yeah.
it is way different.
It is way
Yeah,
different.
it's way different. Yeah.
I've always called him Leist.
That's all right.
I have, really. I mean, since,
That's all right.
I mean,
half my family quit correcting people and just go with it now.
Leish.
So it's fine.
Well, Wade is the reigning 2020, what are we in, 2024-25 LMA Livestock Auctioneer Champion.
Yep.
World champion.
World champion. Yeah. So Jace is international. He's world. I don't know what's better, but I don't,
Yeah.
But Wade, Jace was also 3rd the other day, wasn't he, or something or 6th or something?
Yeah, there was a contest in Texas. He come down and thought he was gonna, clean up, and he ended up 3rd.
Yeah, that's the way it goes down here in Texas. And boys from Montana, he's gonna kill us.
Maybe if he'd have known a judge or two, it would have helped.
Oh, that would have helped. Or either that would have helped, or he'd have been 6th if he didn't.
It's only political if you lose, right?
But we met at Worldwide College of Auctioneers back in 2004 in Mason City, Iowa.
He's actually done way better than you.
He's done way better than me. He has done way better than me. But anyways, we formed a friendship there, and we talk about it a lot in this industry. It's about relationships and friendships, and this is one of them that's we've been friends for a long time. Kept in touch over
because you guys are from completely different worlds.
I don't think you can get any further apart than where we're from, because you live in Walla Walla, Michigan, or something like that, and then I'm South Texas. So where are you from? What town are you living?
My hometown's Boyne City, and it's at the very top of the lower peninsula of Michigan. I'm 3 miles from Lake Michigan. We're surrounded by water and golf courses and ski resorts, and a handful of livestock too. My parents own a market up there in Gaylord, Michigan.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you come from, what you've done, what you do. Just kind of fill us in. Kind of just informative.
I'm a farm boy. I grew up on a farm. My grandparents, they had a couple hundred head of brood cows. Had a big stable of riding horses that they leased out to summer camps and stuff like that. I went to high school, and I didn't see a path for me in the livestock industry or farming industry. I was just going to go to college and get a degree in business or something and go take off and do something different. And I was lucky enough to get recruited to go play some sports in college. So went and did that and come back and found myself
what kind
right
of sport?
back
Is
on
that
the
like
farm.
Lacrosse or something?
No, swimming.
Okay.
Can you believe? No,
Yeah.
I can't swim. I can't swim at a lick. No, football and baseball. I went
so
to
just
college
pretty
to play those.
traditional.
Yeah, very traditional. Everybody's like, "Did you grow up playing or doing any rodeo events?" I'm like, no.
For you folks down south, brood cows are just like cows. Calf. It's cow-calf operation. So just, that's
I was
just
thinking dual purpose.
I was thinking
different.
brood. I'm like, well, it's a northern thing. Whatever. So then what'd you do after college? I mean, what?
I went right back to the farm. I went to the farm and worked with my grandpa for a number of years, and I did decide that since I went to college, I should probably put that to use. So I kind of had this side. It was at that time, it was kind of a side gig. I worked in law enforcement part-time. Just had a couple little city departments that brought me on, and I'd like fill in for them a couple days here and there. And then After my grandpa passed away, I went in law enforcement full-time for about 10 years, but kept the auction industry always as that thing that was like on the side that I would do. So if I had a weekend off or whatever, there was probably an auction on it. I started doing a lot of charity auctions, and we started doing some equipment auctions, or kept doing some equipment auctions. And so I had the auction industry working on one side. And then in 2018, I realized it had kind of outpaced what I was doing in law enforcement, and I wanted to dedicate some more time to it, quit hitting my head on the ceiling. So I retired from law enforcement and went into auctioneering full time.
That's all. It's like Super Troopers.
There was a lot, yeah. There was a lot of things that I did in law enforcement that related to that
neat,
movie.
It's wild that that's two vastly different worlds.
Well, there was a lot of similarities. So the last 3.5 years that I was there, I was the detective supervisor and did a lot of criminal investigations, a lot of interviews and things like that, and learned a lot about personalities, different types of personalities, and what motivates people and what rationalizations they use and that kind of thing. And I found that actually there's a lot of human behavior that you can study that helps you in the auctioneering industry, especially if you're talking about, doing a room doing an auction in a room that's got 1,000 people. Like, what makes 1,000 people respond to what you're doing? How do you, what words do you use? Words are important. Like, how do you use those
I'm blown
words?
away. I love this. I did not know that you did that.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of give us some examples of that, like some different things that you've done over your time, I guess.
Well, I've been in some big rooms where you do, there's 1,000 people in the room for a charity auction, and just knowing that ahead of time, you kind of treat them like cattle, really. Like, you put some pressure behind them and then open a gate in front of them, they're going to go into it. So if you got 1,000 people and you just let them kind of have their own experience, and you don't have any guidelines or any pressure on them, they're going to stay and do what's best for them, which is going to be talking and taking up their own time. They're not going to dedicate it to you. So if you put a little pressure and open a gate towards something else and then give them a reason to support something, they act in kind. So, that's one of them. Then if you're on the stage or even in the livestock industry selling cattle, it's the words you use. If I'm, there's a producer, I've had buyers say, I don't know why you explained them cattle so much to me. I know them better than you do. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm not talking to you, though. I'm talking to the producers sitting right behind you. I want them to know that they got good cattle. Yeah. I want them to know they did a good job,
Yeah, and that does. Whenever I get wrapped up, I love auctions and like charity auctions. My wife and I will go to like the junior livestock auctions and things like that. We decide that's where we're going to give back our money, I guess you'd say. This has always been very important to me, and so it got me to where I'm at. So we give back to there, and I always go in there and I'm like, I'm going to spend, not very much or this much, and I always spend twice as much as what I thought I was going to.
Yeah. So $2.
Yeah.
Up from $1.
But it's wild, like you the way you talk about it. I guess probably really good auctioneers probably get people to spend a heck of a lot more, obviously.
Well, if somebody asks you to do something, if they ask you to give, or if they ask you to donate, there's always pushback. Like, would you donate? There's always a pushback. But if you said something, oh, would you consider a gift? We'd all consider it.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're coming forward with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. That kind of stuff was really interesting to me. And then, like I said, talking to producers, I really feel like a producer is the one that hires and fires you. It never seems to be the barn owner. It never seems to be a buyer. It's always a producer. And so if somebody else doesn't like what you're doing and wants to get rid of you, and the producer goes with you, you'll probably be back pretty soon. So making a producer feel good, making them feel like they've done a good job, and that they're important to you at that moment. That's it's meaningful stuff to me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I'm still like the connection between the law enforcement. I was blown away.
Well, he was talking about criminals, and you kind of lit up. I was like,
he's like, I can read a room. I'm like,
well, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, what's going on?
So how long did you compete before you won the world? How many did you? 2 years, 5 years?
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah. So I started.
Persistent, aren't you?
Yes. The first qualifier I went to was in Florida in 2014 in October. And I had gone to the Greater Midwest contest one time, and I kind of caught the bug. Like, man, this is fun. And it helps you improve. Going to a contest, number one, you're promoting the industry. And number two, you have somebody that can give you an unbiased opinion to say, here's what we liked or didn't like, or here's where you stack up amongst others. And then I can determine, when they tell me if I stacked up behind somebody else, I can look and see that what they did differently that maybe I could work on. So it really gives you a good portal to get feedback to improve.
So you're saying you're a slow learner.
I was a very slow learner, but it took steps. So I went there at 14. I was able to qualify for the Worlds. If you're not familiar with that contest, they have 3 smaller contests that the top 10 finishers then go to the World contest, wherever that might be, but it's in June every year. And then the 31st contestant comes from the Canadian contest, the international one at Calgary Stampede. So anyway, I went to qualified the first year. Next year I went back and I felt like, not that it was a foregone conclusion, but I kind of had, I kind of been there, done that. Well, let's get this behind me and I'll go qualify and go. And went to 2 qualifiers and got kicked out of both of them. It didn't work out. And then the third year I was able to make it again, but didn't make it at a qualifier, was able to make it at the next one. I think the fourth year I would have been like maybe 2018 or something like that. It was a little, my path was a little more like I hoped it to be, but it wasn't until 2019 that I made the top 10. So yeah, it took me 9 years to win it, but it felt like there was like first hurdle that took 4 years to get over to get to where you kind of felt comfortable going to a qualifier and felt confident you're going to make it. Then it took a couple of years of going to the Worlds and feeling like maybe I got a shot at the top 10. Then it takes a couple of years to go, all right, I'm in the top 10. Now I got a chance to actually win it. But everything has to line up. You might have a good day and not have judges that like what you did. You might have judges that line up with you and just not have the right cattle or not have the right flow, like something didn't work right, And so looking back on it, you're like, yeah, 9 years, that's a long time to sit in and subject yourself to this and keep putting yourself out there. But I opened doors during those 9 years. There was opportunities that came because of it. I got better every year because of it. And so it'd be a shame if I won it in the first year or two.
Yeah.
Because once you win it, are you done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you wouldn't be able to meet you wouldn't have that camaraderie and meet all the people that you've met over the 9 years. And
I was actually there. I didn't think about it until when you started talking about it. So it was in Oklahoma City, wasn't it? Yeah. So it was in June. My wife puts on a conference every year, the American Meat Science Association, and their annual meeting was, it was right on the back side of that. So,
okay.
I got there and I walked in. They carry a huge gavel, right? This thing's, there was somebody walking through there that had that thing. And I was like, what's going on? There's like, this is a World Champion Auctioneer. And I knew the Maddens pretty well when I lived in Torrington.
Okay, yeah.
So I got to know those guys and to realize what that contest is. So,
are you in the beef industry looking to stand out? Trust the experts at IMI Global and Where Food Comes From, the leaders in third-party verifications with over 30 years of experience. Their team knows agriculture inside and out, ensuring you get innovative and personalized service every step of the way. They help ranchers all over the country add value with programs like Age, Source, NHTC, Verified Natural, Care Certified, Angus Verified, and Angus Link. Are you ready to add value? Get started today with IMI Global and Where Food Comes From. Visit imiglobal.com for more information.
I think it's awesome. I wish I could chant like you guys, but like if you're, so what things did you do to like prepare for that? Is there practices that you would do, or is it just one deal you went and you're like win or lose and kind of go back the next year?
Man, I always
mentally prepare.
I always found something to work on. I always took something out of that. Like there's like, I don't think that you should fundamentally change like who you are and what you do, but I do think there's always something you can work on. And a big step for me was learning how to talk, learning how to address the audience when you're speaking behind a microphone and you want to command attention. Like that was a big step for me. When somebody finally showed me what that sounds like and what that looks like and what the impact for the listener is, all of a sudden it was like, now something has clicked. Like we all as competitors, like just work on that chant. And that's what everybody thinks we practice on. That chant is like 20% of your score, so it's what was your appearance like? What was your poise like? How clear were you? I don't know. I don't remember them all. Salesmanship is a big one. And then one of the last ones is, would you hire this auctioneer? Well, if you sit down and you grab everybody's attention, you hold it throughout your entire run, at the end, as a judge is marking down the score, when they get to the end, you're gonna gain points there. So if I work on my chant and I have the best chant, I probably gain 6 points from everybody else. But then if I've lost points and everything else, they beat me by 10. So you've got to gain points across all those categories. So I would find something in a category and go home and work on it in the car. I don't know how many road signs. I used to sell road signs like as a practice for
that's pretty cool
bidding. But then it got to the point where it's like I should be reading them. So I would work on enunciating a road sign, and just practicing how to say things. So for me, that's what worked. But everybody's probably got something a little different. And then once it came time to the competition, I had to get it out of my head. Like if I sat there and worked on it and got something really rehearsed, it wasn't going to work very good.
That makes sense.
It wasn't going to work very good.
It's got to be natural, right? I mean, that's kind of with anything where it's just kind of natural flow.
Yeah.
So when you won it this year, did you figure out? I mean, were you pretty confident going into the finals that you felt like you were sitting pretty good?
I knew I gave myself a shot. That's all I knew, and. Actually, there's a great picture that they captured. I was the last person in the room to realize it was me. Like I'm sitting around the table, and my kids are like bouncing up and down. My wife's like smacking me in the chest, and I'm like, I'm still looking at everybody else's table, like who's going to stand up and like celebrate, And all of a sudden I realized, like, oh, we're celebrating.
That's my voice out here.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I did not recognize it, and then the applause started, and I couldn't hear the name or anything, And I was just so caught up in looking around the room to see who I was going to go slap on the back this year.
That's pretty cool.
But I knew I'd give myself a shot, but that's it. But you got to be careful with those things because, in competition, there's 31 guys there and they all came to win it. And one guy gets to, and you can get a broken heart, You got to
know how to win.
You got to know how to win. You got to know how to lose. Yeah. I got some really good friends out of that deal.
Yeah, and that's the same way in the livestock space. I mean, I tell people all the time, like whenever we're going to these stock shows and things like that, I mean, we're going to lose more than we're going to win. Mm-hmm. So go hang out with who you want to lose with.
Exactly.
And if you do win and everybody's proud of you, it's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
But
then you're around a bunch of losers.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. So what's the let's talk about some different auctions you've sold, because I think that's pretty neat too, because you've probably gotten yourself into all these different things. What's the most expensive thing you've ever sold? Outside of a 8-weight yearling in the north.
Yeah, it would have been 15 loads of 8-weight cattle, coming through all weighing between 8 and 8 1/4. The other day, I think they bring 293 or something like that, just outstanding cattle, and that's a lot of money. But outside of that, some real estate, I don't remember all the exact numbers and stuff, but some real estate. Mm-hmm. Probably.
It's like at a charity auction. I mean, what would be the highest thing you ever sold?
I sold tickets to the Detroit Lions. They were like club level tickets or something. It was 4 tickets, and you got to walk on the sideline, which at a lot of those charity auctions, those are, especially around Detroit, like they'll bring 4,000, 8,000, something like that. Well, the owner of the Lions, her and her husband was sitting in the seats.
Oh, wow.
And so there was a little bit of, some corporations kind of showing off, and those brought 45,000 for 4 tickets to a Lions game.
Wow.
Which they couldn't give away 10 years ago.
That's what I was about to say. I'm still a 90s Cowboys fan, and I think about the Lions, and they weren't very good then, but I imagine they were a lot better now.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got Dan Campbell, a Texas native, to come up and start showing them how to play.
There you go.
What's the weirdest thing?
I guess I haven't gotten into a lot of weird things, but the one thing that sticks out, I was asked to do a deer farmers or what is it called? Michigan Deer Farmers or something like that. They had an association. I didn't even realize that people farm deer, but there's a Deer Farmers Association, and then there's like a united one all over the country. Well, they had one in Michigan. They asked me to come sell their, I get a benefit or a pack auction type thing, whatever it was. They're raising money for their association. And I didn't they told me when to be there. And I showed up, they hand me the catalog, and I look at it, and I'm like, this is all deer semen. So I'm going to sell deer semen for the next 2 hours to deer farmers.
Yeah, how do you talk about that?
I didn't know what to talk about it. I don't.
So what you're saying is your speeches weren't very long.
They were not very long. Nope. I just said lot number 3. Let's go. Here we go. Next lot.
Deer semen in Michigan.
What's the cheapest thing you've sold? some consignment auction. Somebody had some used tires or something sitting there.
I think we've all sold
20-cent bolt.
Yeah.
I think we've all sold those dollar boxes, those at auctions, and hopefully we're cutting our teeth on it. We're not doing it for a whole career, but yeah, those things, man, they can be tough. You got like one of those old hay wagons there, and there's boxes of old dishes and Tupperware, and
you're like, take them all.
Yeah, and like empty yogurt cups that they were using. Instead of throwing them away, they put them in a box lot sometime, but that table is surrounded by the gray-haired women, and they wanted that box. You better not throw it in with that box.
Yeah.
And sell both of them at one time. I just want the one box, so they'll teach you a little patience and a little bit of customer service.
All at the same time. Yeah, all at the same time. So, well, what all barns you're selling quite a few barns now. And I guess that's good to keep up with the markets and kind of know this deal. And one of the reasons we reached out and had you come along was your exposure and your in the industry. You're getting out there, you're selling more, you're doing more things, and you're being able to keep up with the market on a weekly basis. So how many barns are you selling now?
I sell on a Monday. I'll sell a United Producers barn in Michigan. It's about 2 hours south of me.
Then you share that duties with.
I can't remember his name.
What's his name?
He's tall.
Yeah, he's about. He's a little.
I think he's 8 foot tall.
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
It's my buddy Jimmy Lambert.
Lambert.
He's one of our reps here, and he does a tremendous job. He's a very good auctioneer as well. He did some announcing on the first sale, announcing the lots and stuff.
First time I ever heard him sell, I was like, "Who is that?"
Yeah,
they're like, "It's Jimmy." I said, "That ain't. That is no way that's Jimmy. He can't do that. He barely can walk." But no, Jimmy's great. He called a while ago. I should have just made him stay on for the podcast.
I should have put him on speaker. Yeah. So I saw that sale. My dad's sale is my parents own a market in Gaylord. I said that probably. That sale's on a Wednesday. But so going back to when I left law enforcement in 2018, I decided I'm going to put my head down and just concentrate on auctions. And I planned on maybe building up some equipment sales or building up some more real estate stuff. And I was going to put my head down, and there was going to be no distractions. And I got a call by a guy from Iowa who owned the barn in Mitchell, South Dakota. And I was in a big hurry. I had a kid on each arm. I'm trying to go to an appointment, and here's this phone. I thought it was probably a telemarketer or something, and I was a little short. And short with him, and as he explained to me what he was looking for, I said, give me a minute. I got to text somebody and cancel this appointment and put the kids down put some toys in front of them and talk to them. And he was offering me a job to go to Mitchell. And so they sell 2 days a week. They sell on Wednesday and they sell on Thursday. Wednesday would be weigh ups and Thursday's feeder cattle. And my world changed when I took that opportunity. Just seeing the differences in the markets and the differences how cattle are raised, the differences in the sheer number and quality of the cattle. Now there's no mistaking it. We have good cattle in Michigan. There's a number of producers that do a tremendous job, but seeing it on the sheer quantity of them and then how to market them differently in that part of the country was really an eye opener, and it opened a lot of doors. And that market's now been sold. My good friend Jared Herman owns that. He actually owns Cherokee, Oklahoma, too. Mm-hmm. So a typical week for me is to go down to St. Louis, Michigan on Monday and sell their sale, get on a plane Tuesday afternoon, be in Sioux Falls, drive to Mitchell, sell Wednesday, Thursday, fly back Thursday night or Friday morning, and then I'll have some different auctions on Friday or Saturday. And then there's a few barns that I get the opportunity to go up to if they need help or they got a big sale or if they just haven't seen me and missed me or something. I'll go to Harriet, South Dakota, and sometimes I can go to Aberdeen and down to Cherokee if Jared's got something big going down there. So you get kind of a feel for the different markets and makes you a little more comfortable. I was never so nervous when I won the championship. They send you around the country doing appearances at markets. If market calls, they got a special sale, they want the world champion there, you go sell that sale. And the first couple of times, man, there's a lot of pressure on this. I can't screw up because they don't set you up there when you're kind of getting started on a couple of sword offs and maybe some little cows and stuff. No, we'll have the house guy do that, and we're going to bring in 13 loads of cattle, and you're going to start right then. And you can't screw up. But going to different parts of the country and just it really helped me. I said it once before. If I could have gone on this tour 5 years ago, I'd have won this contest a long time ago.
I remember the first time I called him, had him come down, fill in a video cell. We were kicking along there. He fit right in. He just dove right in there and got right after it. We started the beef dairy cross section, and he comes, sits down, and I start that first set of beef dairy cross cattle, and he goes to say it, and he goes, "What'd you say?" I said, 350. He went,
"A pound?
A pound?" I went, "Sell the damn cattle." Yes, 350 a pound. He was like, "Okay." And they bring 410 or something like that. And he's
you
like,
started him too low.
I did, but he was like, I was thinking
you were crazy.
$120.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'm giving you a little room to run. And he's like, he wouldn't say it. I was like, 350. He was like, I'm like,
"Are you sure, boss?"
come on.
Well, and that's one of the differences in markets too. The beef on dairy had really taken hold before that, and there was a large market for it, but we weren't seeing the numbers. So at home, there was a little discount for beef on dairy because you could get a ring full of Holstein steers. The beef on dairy, they're sorted off. There might be 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah, in your area, it's really. I mean, there's a couple big players up there now that have taken a bunch of that stuff over, and I think there are a lot of. I don't know how they're marketing that, but you get out in California, it's a lot more consolidated and kind of in fewer hands. And in Michigan, I know I was up there not that long ago, and it's just interesting. There's lots of little different pockets of places where they've got them. But it's interesting that the statement you made, because it just really resonated with me, of watching the different ways that and it kind of ties in with that, the different ways that we produce cattle. Yeah. We were talking about Mitchell, South Dakota, and the same way with me. I mean, I grew up in Weatherford, Texas, went to school at Texas Tech, and then my first job was in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and Torrington, Wyoming, and then getting associated with those guys and learning. I mean, Sean Madden's one of the first guys I met when I went out there, and in that area, which I think he won the Worlds at some point too there.
Yeah, Sean and Lex both did.
Yeah, brothers, I mean, I got to know those. I bought my first lot from Sean, and I out-traded him on a fence that went on that place. So, but just seeing the difference, being like, I didn't know what irrigated pivots were at that time. So, cattle raising, and then you think about like going to South Texas, and, and it's so vastly different. And if you're an enthusiast and you're not just doing this for your job, you're an enthusiast and you love the industry, it's so cool how you get to see how different parts of the world, and that's the backbone of what we built this thing on. I mean,
I remember the first time I ever went to a sale barn that weighed them before they sold them. Yeah, I was, I don't know, 20, 21, 19 or 20, right in there somewhere, and Dad sent me to a barn it was just out a little west of Waco, and I get in there and start buying cattle, and I'm like, man, I got this all, man. I'm looking up there, and when they went out to ring, see what they weigh, I'm like, boy, that was bad. I'm going to move all these things around. About 2 hours into it, Dad calls, and back then you had to go outside and get on one of them hall phones, So I was talking to him. He said, well, how you getting along? I said, I don't know. I got them all big. He said, how you got them all big? I said, what do you mean? I can't weigh one to save my life. He said, dummy, they weigh them before they come in the ring. I was like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, pen looks pretty even.
Hey, for those of you that don't know, you get into South Texas, they don't weigh the cattle ahead of time. No. And they only sell them one at a time.
One at a time.
And most people do not understand that. And like, I didn't understand that. I mean, I'm telling you, 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I've got some customers in South Texas, and I went down there and hung out at a couple barns. It was like Nixon or something. Yeah. And I'm sitting in there, and I'm like, I don't care if you had a draft of 30 head coming in there at one deal. They're going to sell them one at a time, and then sell away the cattle afterwards. And I said that to this guy, and he thought I was the biggest idiot in the whole world. He's like, you never been to a sale barn before? I'm like, I've been to some of the biggest ones in the country. I've never seen them weigh the cattle after you buy them.
Yeah, you weigh. I mean, it's liable to be 3 after. I mean, you'll probably be buying one in the ring, and the one you bought 3 times ago is just getting on the scales. I mean, it can get kind of tricky.
I remember that was a big thing stuck it out. One of the 2 things that really I remembered most about Ty when from auction school was, number one is he said that he had to guess the weight on the cattle before they were sold, which was just completely weird to me. And number 2, he invited me down to hog hunt I was like, well, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. He goes, yeah, you just go and catch them by their legs. I'm like, I'm out. You will not see me in South Texas grabbing a wild boar.
That's back when we was running a bunch of dogs when we was young and could still do all that. And,
now you use
now we use
night vision?
AR and helicopter. Helicopter. Yeah, we took some guys down south the other day on the helicopter.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Now, see, I'd do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do that.
But,
yeah, the world's. I mean, it's crazy how much different it is from different locations, and this business gets to take you around that.
oh, man, and it's awesome to see the different things. I mean, you can go down south and buy them one at a time, spend 10 hours in a barn and buy 200, or you can go north of the Red River and sit in, or even go out west Texas and sit in a barn and buy 200 in one draft. I mean, it's just total different.
It was, you're talking about an eye opener. The first time I went to Mitchell, they put me, he was kind of, the owner at that time was kind of walking me through a little bit of the process and let me watch the other guy and show me, because he knew that I just wasn't that exposed to it. And then when I sat down after I'd sold a few drafts, they cracked the gate and run in a load of 11 weights. I was like, okay. And I went to start, and he goes, no. Did it again. I sold, I think it was 18 loads of black or black white face steers. Well, they had the option. They could take 4 loads here, 4 loads there, 4 loads there, or 2 and 2, whatever. I don't remember exactly how we marketed them in that day, but at the end of it, there was 18 loads, and they weighed within 25 pounds of each other. I mean, totally different, And then he's like, offer a dime. I'm like, we do dimes?
That's not in my vocabulary.
So I had to kind of relearn that, and then he'd wonder why I'd screw up the first number. I'm like, because now I'm trying to think on, you've given me 6 numbers now to work with, and I'm trying to remember what the last number is. I forgot what the first 2 were.
Oh, that's good.
It was quite an experience, quite a learning experience.
Yeah. Another one of them awkward silence moments.
No, I figure he's got something smart.
No, I know. I'm blown away that I think this guy learned his chant sitting in a Super Trooper car, like scanning people's, doing catching speeds at 9 p.m. in some place in the middle of Michigan.
There was a number of times that so we'd record interviews with people, or like traffic stop or something like that. You'd have that, and I'd forget to turn the mic off, and then maybe they'd want the recording, the prosecutor would want the recording or something, and then I'd get an email back like, please turn your camera off so we don't have to listen to you auctioneer for the next 10 minutes after you talk to that person.
You're auctioneering the speed, like when they slow down, or speed up.
I was just bored, and I started practicing.
Well, guys, it's been fun. I appreciate you coming on, Wade. I thank you for all you do for the industry. I mean, because y'all are a voice piece for the industry. When you win that title, you do have to travel around and be a spokesman for the industry. And we thank you for all you do.
If there's a young guy out there that wants to do this, that's aspiring to do that, what's the easiest thing to do?
Go knock on a barn, go knock on the door of the barn, get to meet the owners, and be willing to do anything, because you've got to build a relationship. I'm teaching at a couple of auction schools, and I get asked that question every time, and it's hard to explain if you don't understand the background of it, but you're going to need to build a relationship, because the market owner is responsible for every one of those hooves that come through the barn, and every one of the producers that sent them there, responsible for the buyers, responsible for getting the sellers paid, getting the phone calls from somebody whose cattle sold an hour after they thought they were going to, and they're not happy about it, getting the maybe having to protect the market. You have all of that going on, and yet somebody comes out of auction school, they're 24 years old, they knock on the door and say, I'm an auctioneer, I'd like to work for you. They're not going to hand those keys over to you very quickly. You've got to build that relationship. So be ready to do something. Go learn how to sort the cattle, learn why they're sorting one out. Learn why when you sent 10 head in, they sent 8 of them back. Get figuring those things out, and then build that relationship. And eventually, and it might be a month. Dan Clark did that for like 10 years before they gave him a shot. He's one of the best auctioneers in the history of livestock auctioneers. If you know him from Winter, South Dakota, he's tremendous. It took like 10 years. He was just patient, just stuck it out. Then finally they put him in there. He had some other roadblocks, but if you know him, he'll tell you about him. But that you've got to build that relationship because they have to be able to trust you.
Advice.
They got to be able to trust you.
I think it's with any business.
Yeah. You got to be able to want to get your hands dirty and start at the back and then come to. That is a problem nowadays with a lot of young people. They think they can just slip in there and start at the top. That ain't how it works in this industry. You need to put some mud on your hands and grunt work in the back before you can come to the front. So,
be hungry.
Yeah, be hungry for a little while.
Can you imagine? I mean, if somebody's got 1,000 head sale, like how much money's going out that day?
Yeah.
Like how much money is that market responsible for?
Yeah,
a couple $1 million. And then you're
incredible.
Then you're just gonna turn that over to somebody that said they went to auctioneer school. Like you've got to build that trust.
Yeah. Well, once again, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a joy to visit with you because you never know what's going to come out. But once again, thanks everybody for joining in and watching We Live It podcast. I'm going to tell you one more time because I've been told to tell you one more time. Hit subscribe as you're watching on any platform. We do, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. Thank everybody for supporting us, for supporting this idea. We want it to be an educational and a fun event for all of us. But, we just want to educate you. If you have any ideas of what we could do next or what we could talk on next or who we could have on next, just shoot Katie an email. If you want to advertise or do any advertising with us, also shoot Katie an email or get on live-ag.com. And there's ways to get all that information to us there. So thank y'all. We live it, and God bless.